scratched his chin. He said, son, I wouldn't know where to begin. But your daddy's gone down south. Was all he would talk about. We never blamed it on the soil. Well, the sunburned earth, though the prices of the oil. This border town is my home.
Welcome to True Stream on this very special December 19th, and I'm here to welcome good friend Michael Jaco to the show. And welcome, Michael. We had a conversation about 3iAtlas recently, and a number of other things. And Michael's pretty famous for his remote viewing skills, and I've been doing work in the Astral for some time. A lot of similarities, but a little bit of a different approach. And so we thought we'd have a look and see what we saw. And today we're here to talk about it. So how's it going, Michael?
Very good. Yeah. I mean, we had a great conversation about it. I checked back in a little bit ago just before the show. Everything seems to be moving along quite nice with those beings that are on the spacecraft that we're calling 3iAtlas right now. And I don't think we're going to see any fireworks. I think everything's been shut down for a great extent. And things are moving, like I said, perfectly right now.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting to view because it was more of like peering into a field for me. It was more information than anything I could describe. And what I did see was, I guess, difficult to put to words. But I felt like I was getting a massive download that I'm still digesting. Did you have that experience?
I did get a really good download. They're benevolent beings. They're from different star systems: Sirius, Arcturus, Arcturian, and Pleiadian. So we have really good rapport with them. A lot of us that are on Earth, we're kind of dialed into them already. Not all of humanity, of course. So it's going to take a little bit more time. There's a negative faction, of course, that's not so happy that they're there, but they really can't do anything about it this time. They have in the past, but this time is quite different. And the information I got downloaded from them is that they're helping us transition to higher dimensional realms.
Definitely. It's funny. I asked them, why are you here? And the answer I got was for the same reason you're here. So I don't know if that's a sense of humor or if that's really profound. I'm still kind of sitting with it, but it felt good to hear. I guess there's some pretty serious Earth changes that are kind of fomenting right now, and I think their presence is mitigating that to some degree. Whether it's volcanic eruptions or earthquakes. I know with a lot of our solar weather we've had recently, where we've got prime conditions for earthquakes.
Yeah, and the fact that we haven't had a very serious Earth change activity, pole shifts, and all that kind of stuff is probably that same thing that we're talking about right now. I think the humanity is having an impact, unlike we've had all the way back to Atlantean times. Atlantean times, humanity was hijacked by Draco reptilian types, and that's the Draco reptilians are no longer here. Their offspring, of course, are still here. That are kind of like, I've seen some of them. They shapeshift.
Too.
Yeah, you too, huh? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
it's pretty unmistakable, and they're not all bad.
Yeah, they get a little angry, but they're not like the real reptilians. You look at Star Trek, and they basically the guys at Star Trek they're always fighting that alien race. Those are the reptilians, and they've been telling us for a long time, what's going on here, and they get pushed off. We're kind of like in a quarantine to a certain extent, although there has been probably and still are, they're still trying to track those down, but there are, portals that they come in and out of, mostly in the underground. Most of the Draco were underground in DUMBs, deep underground military bases, and there had been some conflicts and some battles and so forth that happened, and still are to a small extent in some of the DUMBs. Most of the DUMBs have been taken over by the good guys. There's probably still some activity. I think probably portals they're still trying to find. That might go on for some time, but I see 2026 is going to be a monumental year as far as reveals and really taking down this dark cabal that's been running Earth for a long time, ever since Atlantis, really.
It's really interesting you bring up Atlantis because of all the names they could have given, this undefinable body we're watching. Atlas, the mythology of Atlas is pretty interesting. Holding up the weight of the world, and there was a real connection with Atlantis and Atlas. And Atlas was brought down, according to Edgar Casey and the most of the research I've done by the Belial group, which I think is a nod to the Baal group, the Bel worshippers of today.
Belial, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it just sort of seems like no matter what they do, it's sort of like in Q parlance, nothing can stop what's coming. There's no path to victory for these folks. This is destiny. That's another word that they used when I was talking to the beings on 3iAtlas was
nice
destiny. And I've got the really strong sense. I mean, they're high dimensional beings. They're not in linear time, so their perspective is it's vast, but it's sometimes a little difficult to interpret because we think in three-dimensional linear time, and that's a real limitation. But I think we're outgrowing it very quickly.
Yeah, and we've seen President Trump and his connection to his uncle, who supposedly got information from Tesla, and then we have that one series, the Barron Trump series. It seems to be there was some time traveling going on or something. Because there's a lot of information in that series that points to President Trump and Barron Trump. So it's pretty unmistakable when you see it. So somebody had some insights all the way back in the early, I think even before late 1800s is when that series was written.
Yeah, hard to believe that there'd be such direct references to what's happening right now, personal references. And, go figure. It was Uncle John Trump that had, such high level access to all of Tesla's work. We know he was definitely involved with time travel and a number of other amazing technologies. And I think that's going to punctuate what we're heading into here real quick. You've heard about the patents and so on that have been suppressed for amazing technology that would benefit mankind. I think we're going to get a windfall of technologies that are really going to change how we live on this planet.
Wow, that's fantastic. I was going to segue into that, and you just picked up on it. So, yeah, the anti-gravitic propulsion that we've seen from a lot of ET aircraft. I think a lot of them are actually our craft, and of course the good guys have a lot of that craft as well. I think the bad guys have basically been taken down to a great extent. Otherwise, we would have seen 3iAtlas. Probably they would have gone after it and would have staged a Project Bluebeam type of situation here on Earth today. Who knows? Maybe they'll still play with it a little bit. But I think at this point, so many people are aware that that's a possibility that it's not going to have much traction. But free energy, I think off-world travel is coming. It's already happened for a lot of people. There's a secret space program that's out there. There was a dark side, the Nazi side, that's been suppressed and pretty much taken down. I think the Antarctic base is basically been taken down. The reason why I say that is because a lot of the directed energy weapon stuff and hurricanes and earthquakes and all the stuff that we would have been seeing at this point that I had been seeing and other people that had been seeing haven't been happening. And my predictions on that have been like 90 to 100%. And all the predictions that I saw coming have not happened. So there's definitely some kind of change. I think some of that is because of consciousness and other things that are going on as we're basically taking down their high tech systems that they've been using against us for a long time.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We haven't had any hurricanes this year, and I can't remember a year like that. I'd have to look to see if historically we've had a year like that. But it makes you think that they've always been directed, and we know about weather modification and so on, and it's that whole Saturn group. The black hole sun. Like we saw the emblem of the black hole sun was embraced by the Nazis, but it was recently it appeared on all the the plate carriers for the Ukraine soldiers and so on.
Oh yeah,
Interesting to see the resurrection of that kind of symbolism.
yeah. And so that Nazi system is being taken down by the Russians, and that's good. President Trump has been playing like I'm the Russians, don't stand a chance, blah blah blah. There wouldn't have been a war, I agree, if President Trump had been in office, but that was not to be. So he was taken out of office, as we know, through very evil means. That's part of the exposure that's happening right now. But taking down that system, the Nazi system, the NATO system, the European Union, the stuff down in Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, the cartels and so forth, all of that is being taken down simultaneously. It's unbelievable, the things that are happening right now on Earth.
Yeah, it's the again with Q parlance, it's the sum of all fears reference. The constant reemergence of Nessun Dorm. Which was the musical accompaniment to the final scene. In Sum of All Fears, and then the Godfather 3 references, taking down all the enemies all in the same evening or in the same moment, and it feels like we're there. I mean, has it happened already?
So I don't know if we have the stream on your end, but or if I'm the only one that's left here. But yeah, it seems like they don't want this information to get out. But I'll continue a little bit until maybe we come back in. Maybe this is going out still. So I think that it's definitely Sum of All Fears type thing. They're being taken down on a massive scale, massive level. They wanted to have a World War III nuclear war. That's been stopped out. They've had nukes in certain places all over the place, but that has not been something that they've been able to do or utilize or manufacture and bring in. So
That's never happened before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know if did you get kicked off, and I guess I kept the show going. So that's happened to me. That happens to me all the time. So I don't know. It could be because you're talking with me. So I switched to another. I can switch back and forth to different internets. So hopefully that'll give us a little coverage. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I guess our perspective isn't so welcome.
It's
But,
welcome by most, but by a very sliver of a few, not as much. But their days are numbered.
I do I wondered what people would experience with with this arrival, so to speak. Now, it'll be back, on its journey, but I wondered if people would wake up and all the distortion would be removed. The veil is so thin as it is now. For people like us that can see, it's just really invaded our 3D reality to a pretty astonishing degree. I know I've seen like demonic forces occupying people. They transform right in front of you and in your at the grocery store. And I don't know if you've had those experiences, but you'll see it and they'll recognize that you can see them and they look really freaked out when it happens.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I get that a little bit, but I don't pay much attention. I go after a lot of demonics on a different level, so they're not very happy when I show up. So,
yeah,
I think that 3iAtlas, they're allowing us to see their craft, so that they have some type of influence on us. So a lot of people are talking about it, bringing us information. We're getting nothing from NASA or any other group out there. In fact, they tried to shield it and not shut it down and so forth. Information from that. So that's a big reveal in and of itself, right there, that they're trying to suppress it. But those of us that have been watching it, and there's other satellites and so forth, private satellites, and have been watching it. So that's been fantastic. Many of us that have tapped into it see that these are multidimensional beings, and they're allowing themselves or their craft to be seen at this time. Some people that have the ability to communicate with them, they're being freely allowing communication. So that's fantastic. And
yeah.
you've had a little. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the conversation's been, well, are they biological? And
Mhm.
it's a little confusing because they occupy light bodies.
Yeah.
They're just pure light. It's a little hard to define that. Is that biological? I mean, it's certainly natural. But
Well, I mean, our bodies, we're beings of light as well.
we are.
Once our light goes, our bodies just basically disintegrate, start to deteriorate very quickly within hours after the light leaves. So it's the same with them. They can materialize into different forms and so forth. But yeah, their light can move up and down the dimensional scale depending upon their level of advancement as well. So we're going into 5D reality. We've talked about this. Everybody's talked about this for decades now, and now everybody's starting to see. Yeah, we're right on the threshold of that. What is that going to look like? I don't completely have the answer to that, but I see that, and other people are seeing that there's going to be a split where the people that love 3D, love the control systems, love the AI taking over, and transhumanism, all that kind of stuff, they're going to get to experience that probably for another 1,000 years. So the Luciferian group is very strong here, and they'll continue. It's not like we're going to wipe them out and take over. It's basically we're going to split, and higher dimensional realms will go into just like these beings that are giving us the example, I believe, because their craft is like moving and doing all kind of crazy acrobatics and all kind of it's fantastic. So they're proving to us that there is this capability that's out there, and I think that's what we're going to see over the next couple 2-3 years until that transition is complete.
Yeah, I feel like back in the beginning, the demiurge, commanding the Archon forces, kind of found a way to really suppress certain frequencies within us that are native in us. And I think it really is about the return of that frequency and, within us. And it renders them powerless. I think the whole key to that archonic dominance over our planet really was the suppression of those frequencies, and I think it's no more. You mentioned NASA. It's sort of funny. I've been told that in Hebrew, NASA means to deceive.
Oh,
We spend a lot of money being deceived, giving it to NASA. And I think they knew that this thing was, if you could chart its path, it was going to be so close that there was no keeping this under wraps. So they tried to get out in front of it and minimize it in their own way. But today the observations are really kind of odd. I mean, just from a scientific perspective, 3iAtlas has changed form, like completely changed form. It's changed color.
yeah.
It's they say that the amount of power it would take to react in the way that it's reacting or acting is unfathomable. I mean, this thing has already blown physics out of the water because it just simply will not comply with anything that we think we know about how the universe works. And yeah, that hasn't happened before. Today's a pretty special day, I think.
Oh yeah. And today, the day that it's coming the closest to the Earth, and all of the doomsayers and all that kind of stuff are being proven wrong. That's good. And as we move forward, there's probably not going to be anything like that. So we'll see, probably going into the new year, because I think they're basically pushing everything into the new year. There was a lot of people, myself included, thought that there was going to be some fireworks before the end of the year, but evidently they decided, and could change, but it seems like after President Trump's speech, everybody thought, okay, here we go, and
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, we're doing a great job, yay, let's go U.S. So it's like, and then everything calmed down, and I think that's good. We'll have
Yeah.
a nice Christmas, hopefully, and if the deep state doesn't have their way, which I don't think they will, because I think they've tried to, a lot of us have said there was going to be more 9/11s. That hasn't happened. There was going to be, I saw from the last, COVID-19 scam, that they were going to do something far worse within a year or two. That didn't happen as well. So a
Yeah.
lot of their stuff is definitely getting shut down and stopped out. So maybe in the new year, because everything's been so peaceful so far, it's just, you're just taking away their ability to do evil. It's being cut. Their money's being cut. Their transportation systems underground, maglev is being cut. All the different dumbs that they had where they were doing child trafficking, all that kind of stuff is being stopped out. Their adrenochrome, usage that they got from the reptilians, Draco, is being stopped out and almost completely gone. So it is, and you see some of them. You can see the ones that had a lot of adrenochrome. They're definitely looking bad right now.
Oh
If
yeah.
it's, and a lot of people that we thought were Clinton, both the Clintons I think are probably been stopped out, and there's like a double. There's so many body doubles out there right now. It's hard to tell, who's who these days.
It's been so difficult to navigate this because how much we know that a certain degree of this is theater, if not
Yeah.
all of it. The whole you're watching a movie. But how much of it is a movie? I mean, are there real threats? Ukraine was full of biolabs, that were responsible for all sorts of horrors that I think, like you said, have been stopped. Thank God, because I think that's scarier than nukes, really. Uh, those kinds of contagions and whatnot. This gain of function research, it's interesting. There was an executive order putting a halt to it, but it wasn't legal before when they did it. At least, I suppose they got around it by doing it outside the United States. But um, I feel like all that's been rooted out. I
Yeah.
feel like the major threat has been neutralized, so to speak, and now it's a matter of how do you share that level of truth with the people. And in order to have the changes that we're about to see, you have to share the truth. Everyone has to embody that truth. So it's going to be a spectacular year And I think people are more and more receptive. I was just at an event in California, for Lewis Herms,
Yeah.
and the conversations, these seem like just very ordinary, run of the mill folks, but these were high level conversations about multidimensionality and linear time and a lot of things we're talking about today. It's definitely something being considered by a great number of the population now, and people didn't used to be able to follow that conversation at all. So
Yeah.
something's definitely shifted in a big way.
Yeah, and your speech there I thought was fantastic, and I'm really pleased. I didn't know you were on this level, and you're like, let's do like you do your remote viewing, and I'll do my thing, and we'll see what we got. And I was like, what? I didn't know you're on this level. I was like, heck yeah, let's go. And so this is more revealed for everyone that this is the things that we're talking about. I think a lot of people are resonating with, and it's going to really appeal to more and more people going forward, and more people are going to awaken to it if they haven't already, and have these things that we do. Everyone's going to be able to do it. It's like everybody's going to do this,
Yeah.
and a lot more. And some of the things that telepathy, a lot of people have that already. Uh, you know, we've kind of experienced that already, where I was thinking something and you brought it up, and I was like, okay, so we're really tapped in this show. So everyone's going to be on that level to a great extent. Everyone's going to be able to see into the future. And what's really exciting, as we're already starting to experience, and I've been experiencing this for quite some time, is that we can actually decide what our future is going to be, instead of the negative group, which has kept us in fear, the fear, anger, and so forth, which takes away our power. And if we are in the higher states of peace and love and so forth, that's where our power resides. That's where we create from. They normally steal that from us, as we've seen from Hollywood types that seem to like die, and they take all their talent and movies and so forth for themselves. Same thing with musical artists. So a lot of this is going to stay with us. They're not going to be able to steal that anymore. That's going to be monumental for humanity, because all those artists, all those people with like Tesla type technologies. I know you're involved with LifeWave as well.
I am.
Yeah, with and David Schmidt is like a modern day Tesla, and the technology that he's brought forth is monumental. It's like wearing a med bed. So the med bed technologies are going to go to a different level. So the healing, all the things they've been doing to like take us down, keep us sick, those go away. People start living 100+ years. For me, it's like I'm just starting to get it now at 65.
Yeah.
So, I hope I get to, and I feel very definitely I will be staying here for another 65, so I can
Easy.
really make an impact and really start to experience things and do off-world travel and all that kind of stuff from this consciousness level, because I feel I've been doing it from another consciousness level already in the secret space program. So the connection with the secret space program is going to start to come in. Those people that have those capabilities, they couldn't come in, and because there was the bad guys had control of Earth. So now those secret space program guys and the people that have the suppressed memories of secret space program are going to awaken to all those memories and all those capabilities. It's going to be unbelievable going forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. A few years ago, I met someone that knew me rather well, and it was because of my activities in the astral that I was unaware of completely.
Wow.
And yeah, and he's a mentor of mine, but always very careful to not to reveal too much, but always reminding me, hey, you need to remember who you are. And I think that's going on for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's it kind of really dwarfs this experience when you experience life in that way. And you feel like, initially I thought this is Dungeons and Dragons for adults. Like this is silly, but when you're with a group of people that are all in different states and you're out there and they're describing to you what you can see in great detail, I mean, that's a proof. And
Yeah, it's fantastic. And both of us are at Lewis Herm's, running for California governor. God, what a unbelievable event that would be if he's elected governor. I remember working with him like 4 or 5 years ago, teaching him remote viewing, and then he like took off. His consciousness just exploded, and now here is getting ready to be potentially the governor of California, and we'll have more people of that caliber, of that level, I believe, going forward.
I know, and I really want to live in California. Certainly not in its current state, but what a
No.
beautiful, beautiful place. That's a perfect climate, and and if California goes the way of Lewis Herms, the rest of the country will quickly follow suit. I think that's the biggest hurdle. I think is California,
Yeah.
deepest corruption, but definitely the the big prize.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm on the other side of Lake Tahoe. I'm in the Nevada side, so you can't see it right now because it's snowing pretty good out there. But on the other side is California. So I look out over there. I'm like, come on, California, come on, let's do it. Let's win this race. So let's win it for humanity, because I think that's what we're going to see. Now, I think that the next year we'll see in the midterm. We'll see fair elections. I'm not sure how or when that starts. I think it might start in March when they start to implement the new system. Maybe President Trump comes in and says there's a national emergency. We want to make sure that we have good and fair elections. So I think they're building the stage for that, have been for a while. And then the reveal of that would be monumental. That's one of the things I think has been frustrating for many of us. We've seen this about to evolve, and then it gets pulled back. I'm not quite sure what that is. What you have any thoughts on that?
Well, the Rockefeller system has been a huge problem for us, but our financial system, the fiat system, the Federal Reserve, and everything that goes with it, has been one of our biggest crippling limitations in this country. And I think precious metals are about to, particularly silver, are about to bring fiat to its knees. And there's a lot of rumors and statements that Trump has made about, well, why don't we just buy crypto and revalue it and get rid of the debt? And if you back it with precious metals, well, then you have sound money, something Ron Paul has been a big advocate for a long time, and really anybody that understands economics, I think. But all of the dust up with Jerome Powell, the ire that exists between Trump and Jerome Powell. I think we're going to see the end of the Fed here real quick. We haven't seen the the audit of Fort Knox yet, but that's probably going to play in here real soon. And honestly, I think if you look at XRP, if you look at Ripple, and you see how they've conducted themselves throughout all of this, they opened an office in D.C. for the express purpose of seeking regulatory clarity. They're really the only ones that have done it. I don't know of any other big crypto guys that have been to the White House as many times as Brad Garlinghouse. But one of the more suspicious things, or fortunate things, depending on how you look at it, is Ripple maintained half of their issuance. All the XRP in the world, they retained 50% of it. And I have a hunch that 50% is sitting in the Treasury. I think that's our new reserve currency. I really do. And I've said to a lot of people, because they're always watching the price action, did you see what it did today? And I say, no, I never look at the price action, because I know, the true value of XRP is going to come in the form of an announcement. I mean, I've been saying that for years. Looks like it may be Trump just coming out and saying, this is the value of XRP. And You know, a lot of people suspect it'll be between $10,000 and $35,000. So,
Wow.
yeah. So
Yeah, that
I
make a
think
lot of
that's,
people, wealthy. I think that's what's coming for a lot. Where everyone in America is going to be wealthy.
oh
I
yeah,
think that's a given. The people that have, paid into Social Security, I think they're going to get a bonanza. People that paid into taxes, that's going to be a bonanza coming back to them. So a lot of that's coming back. I think the amount of gold that we have, and maybe even silver to a good extent, because we're going to need it going forward. There's a lot more. I think there's like in the Grand Canyon and some of the other places, they've been mining it for quite some time. There's like some of the forts that are in those areas. We have heard that there's mints in some of those forts. So I think that we may have a very great reveal, and America could really be catapulted quite quickly to the forefront of the world as far as monetary power and influence and so forth, and really help the world, I think, overcome the dark cabal and so forth. But it's going to be just like we've had to go through some monumental hurdles. I think the world's got to go through them as well.
for sure.
Overcoming the deep state. Some cities, I think, will probably resist, but eventually, once everybody sees how everyone's benefiting tremendously, they're just going to like walk away from those control systems and go towards the light, if you will.
Yeah, if we end the Fed, if we get off of this ridiculous fiat system and we have sound money that can't
Mm-hmm.
be manipulated or controlled, uh, I mean that's half of it there. And then Trump called out the fake news early on, and who pays for the fake news? Pharmaceutical companies pay for the fake news,
Mostly.
and they brought us COVID. They're not interested in your health; they're interested in your money. And there's a company here in Phoenix called Invita, and they have a tremendous cure rate on cancer. It's like 96% or something like that. Don't quote me,
Wow.
but no chemo, none of that. It's just a technological advancement, but good luck getting it paid for. Insurance companies won't cover it. Uh,
Mm.
once we have reform, and there's a group of people that I know pretty well that are introducing legislation to end medical tyranny, I think cancer will be a thing of the past. I mean, Biden was talking about how he was going to cure cancer. I thought that was really funny, but I think that was foreshadowing for what we're about to see. And not just cancer. I think all kinds of maladies. We talk about med beds, but if you think about your DNA and your telomeres and whatnot, how hard would it be to reorder those? You carry the perfect blueprint for yourself, and maybe we get off track because of environmental inputs and so on. But you brought up LifeWave earlier. Have you experienced the water machine that's going to be coming on the market?
Yeah, I have one. I drink it every day.
Do
It's
you?
basically it's putting light into your body.
Yeah.
So the patches activate the light in your body,
Mm-hmm.
and the water machine actually puts it into your body. So yeah, I've had incredible healing from it on a lot of different levels. So from the patches, I've had great healing, great protection. I think from because a lot of us get attacked. I've had people shake my hand, and then I got super sick. There's been a lot of
Yeah.
other people that have died from that. So I get direct energy weapon attacks. The LifeWave patches, there's an X39, X49, basically creates a Faraday cage in your body. And then at
Wow.
night with the Eon, I wear the Eon at night. So I'm basically shielding myself from these attacks I used to get quite regularly. And I haven't really had a bad attack since I've been using LifeWave in this manner. So there's many different ways that we're going to see this technology, come out in the future. Next year, early part of next year, the water machine should become available, for everybody on Earth, and I think it's really going to have a very strong impact.
I want one. I'm so excited about that. And isn't it funny? Because didn't Trump, wasn't he chastised by the media for saying something about putting light into the body when he
Yeah,
predicted COVID?
back during COVID, I remember I put it out, because he talked about it, and I was like, there is a device they can put it down your esophagus, and it can go into your lungs, and ultraviolet light and kill all the bacteria in there and so forth, and it's real. And I was like, and then I had that video taken down. It's like,
Well,
but
now we're just
that's big
charging
form,
water.
like you say, is controlling a lot of the media and so forth. That's turned around now because there's several of us that have YouTube channels. Once again, I got my X, I got Twitter back, I got X account again, so we're able to come back in. I thought there was a possibility that we might get shut down again, but as time goes on and these crazy events aren't happening like I and many other people predicted, I'm like, things may have really changed a lot faster. And it could be from this 3iAtlas, coming into our consciousness field. And because we know if you come into a room, like you and I would come into a room and we'll light it up.
Yep.
Sometimes you come into a room and it's dark, and you're like, what's going on in here? And it's like there's bad people that are in that room. They look at you like real bad. And so I just send them love. But there are instances where we can have this light, like we talked about the water machine with light coming into your body. There are beings, and as we're seeing with 3iAtlas, I think that can influence all of Earth in a positive way just by their presence. And I think that's what we're also getting from 3iAtlas, just the presence of these very powerful positive beings, and nothing is happening to them, which would have been impossible probably just a few years ago. But now we're on a whole different level now.
Well, we are the most incredible technology in existence. I mean, we really are. We are quantum computers.
Yep.
D-Wave, the most prolific of the quantum computers out there in use today. The whole architecture is based on our physiology. And I can't really explain how, but I confirmed that with Jaime Harlow, who developed a room temperature quantum computer. We've done a number of shows with him. He's brilliant.
Wow.
But not just that. I mean, we are multidimensional. A lot of us have experienced telepathy, like we're talking about. I've been in two places at once, and I've had people remember me in both of those places that occurred at the same time. I've stepped out of time. Of course, there's the astral travel, the remote viewing, and so on. I think the more people have those experiences, the more common it'll become. And talk about accelerated evolution. I think we're really in the midst of a massive evolution, and quite frankly, if we don't evolve, we're done. And I'm really happy to see that we're evolving, because I mean, look at AI. How do you know what reality is the question, and the answer is how did you ever know what reality is? You're seeing such a small slice of it. But I think as we expand, these technologies that are potentially dangerous will be enormously useful, enormously useful.
Mm-hmm.
They have everybody synced into this hybrid form of slavery where, we're convinced that there's lack. There is no lack. There's no shortage of anything, really. Peak oil, land, whatever it might be. Managed appropriately, this planet is so abundant, it's just not even funny. And there may be a hell of a lot more of
That's a
it,
good point
right?
about peak oil. I mean,
Yeah.
I was, I've been around a little while, so I remember back in the 70s where, they said it's all running out, and it's like there's only so much, and so the price of oil doubled and tripled and quadrupled and just kept going up because everybody believed it, everybody accepted that, and then the Arab oil
Dinosaurs.
embargo, yeah. Now we know that in this, I remember reading this book probably probably a couple decades ago almost, called the deep hot biosphere, where they basically said oil replenishes. And I saw oil executive like a couple of years ago on Maria Bartiromo business show, where he says, "Yeah, oil just reproduces."
It
And
does.
she's like, "Oh," and she like, went to another subject real quick, and I was like, "Oh, reveal." I was when I was in the SEAL teams, we would do oil filled platform takedowns out in the off the Santa Barbara coast. And if terrorists came and took it, we had to be able to go on and take them down or whatever. So that was one of the things we worked on. So I'm out there, having my guys train, and I stayed overnight. And I was talking to the manager of all of the oil platforms out there in Santa Barbara, and he happened to be on the one that I was on, and he told me in the winter we stop pumping, almost completely stop pumping. It's just a little bit. And then when the prices go up in the summer, we start pumping again. And he said, he kind of alluded, he didn't come right out and say it. And this is like 40 years ago. And he says, and so that it will build back up. And it kind of like at the time it went over my head. And then I read that Depot Biosphere and I was like, oh, that's what he was talking about. It's replenishing in the wintertime when the prices are low. And then when the prices go up in the summer, they have a bonanza and those platforms have been out there like 60, 70 years now.
Yeah.
So you think they'd be like dry at this point. No, they keep replenishing. So all of this stuff is being revealed now. It's crazy.
Oil's just the product of pressure and heat on matter. It's the sun. Provides us with all the energy to convert everything, but even that's a frequency. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, as we know. So, it's not like we're using it up where's it going? Things change form all the time, but pressure and heat will always exist. Uh, yeah. So,
So I mean,
there you
these
have it.
reveals are coming everywhere. I mean, we're seeing it like the Brown University
Yeah.
shooting, the Bondi shooting. To me, I've put it out to my audience that it's complete BS.
Yeah.
It's such BS. It's extremely frustrating that they're still playing these games with us and still somewhat, I guess, getting away with it. Charlie Kirk shooting, just game after game after game. Bread and circus for the masses. So who's playing these games? I think Charlie Kirk and President Trump, both of those basically were supposed to be real, and they came in and basically hijacked them, took down all the people that were going to be part of that, and staged it. So we talk about how a lot of stuff is staged right now. Those two assassination, one of an attempt and one that we're led to believe was a real assassination, were staged events. And then we're seeing another staged event in Bondi Beach in Australia and the Brown University. Now, could there be some people that are killed within this? There's always that. I think in the Las Vegas shooting, there were some people that were killed, but there was also manipulation. And this is becoming obvious. So the fact that they waited so long for the Brown universities, like, we don't have that many cameras, and everybody's like, bullshit, you don't have it. That's all you got? Are you kidding me? And so they just strung it along, and now I guess the shooter killed himself, and it's like, you guys.
You mean the guy that was former IDF?
Maybe.
I mean, isn't it funny how the Mossad responded very quickly? They were on the ground to investigate things, and I liken that to Seattle PD showing up in Bogota or something to respond to an event. It makes no sense. It's just jurisdictionally or otherwise, unless I think we're being shown something here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the same thing with the Charlie Kirk situation. I mean, there were 12 Israeli phone signals in the audience, and there was a private plane that hadn't really flown anywhere in a year that was walking distance. The jet turned out to be an Egyptian flight, but it had all kinds of Israeli ties. Some of this stuff is like, it's so sloppy that I feel like it has to be intentional. You know,
I
I
know,
mean, I
right?
know people when people get desperate, they make mistakes, but I think this rises to a whole nother level. I think a lot of this is theater. Don't mean to minimize any tragedy or loss, of course. We don't know the facts here, but sort of like what we saw in Sandy Hook. Why did they bulldoze the crime scene so quickly? And who treats a crime scene anywhere like that? Well, we'll just take down the cameras or projectors or whatever they are, and completely have a total disregard for evidence. It doesn't make any sense.
No. And there obviously 9/11. There was lots of Mossad that was there. We know about that.
Yeah.
Even in Florida, those buildings, those condos that like fell in their footprint. I call that out right away. Uh, and they had like Mossad show up,
Mm.
and they called them Israeli. Like they come in and whenever there's a disaster, they come and help find people from Israel. We can't do it ourselves. So there's John McAfee supposedly, and they said no, he didn't have a condo there, and there was like they were alluding to the fact that maybe he had lots of information in one of those condos, so they just brought all the buildings down. They didn't know which one, so it's crazy. That's the way they operate, and
Yeah.
I think that's something that everybody needs to be aware of. The more of us wake up to this, the less they're capable of doing, like a 9/11 or, the condos in Florida or, on and on and on.
It's this gaslighting. I remember the day that on 9/11, I was trying to repair an air conditioner in my living room when it happened, and the first words out of my mouth, and I spoke out loud, it was just like, the fundraiser. Like I knew immediately what was going on. To some degree, I know it wasn't the official story. I do want one of those super fireproof passports at some point, though. That's pretty cool.
I
But
know, and it's crazy because I told a buddy of mine because he was like, "Oh yeah, the 9/11 that was terrorists," and I was like, "That was not." And he's like, "What do you mean? How dare you say that?" And he's like, special forces guy, Army special forces guy. I was working with him in Iraq on a contract. So I was like, if I told you and showed you that one of the passports, flew out of the plane, out of a burning plane, past the building, and landed on the sidewalk, completely, perfectly intact, would you believe that it was all a scam? And he's like, if that was true, I would take my government down. And I was like, and I showed him, and he wouldn't talk to me anymore about that. So
right. Well, it was like the Paradise Fires and what happened in
yeah,
Maui and so on. Everyone, their retort was, "Oh, space lasers," and I'm thinking, where were you in like 1996 when Raytheon was running the advertisements for direct energy weapons? I mean, this is not new technology, folks.
no,
It never was. So, what's more plausible? Just have the facts and at least some of them, a few data points, you can put it together.
yeah,
So,
you have to be on it pretty quick because they'll start to go off in all kind of different directions, wear everybody out. But if you can be on the information right away, you can often get all those pictures and everything. Unfortunately, what I found is because I did the Charlie Kirk shooting right away. I was on a show, and somebody brought it up, and I'm like, oh, well, let me go look at that. And I looked at it, and I saw where the bullet went. And I was like, oh, bullshit right away. Right. So that was not a 30-08 or whatever round.
3 yeah.
Yeah. So
No.
that would blown his head off. And just a little gushing black goo coming out of his neck there. That's was a hologram that was being run as well. So there's a
I
lot of.
wonder.
Mhm.
That camera that they took down right away and everybody was quick to call it like a high resolution camera, that you probably saw the
Hologram
videos that
projector.
I saw. That was it looked exactly like a holographic projector that requires a 10 by 10 space in order to be functional, and that 10 happened to be exactly 10 by 10.
Yeah. So I
But
mean, like I said, they tell you in all these
yeah.
movies, and so I think they if there was somebody there, they put them down because they saw that there was an underground type of place where
Yeah.
they had the
Trapdoor.
wiring, whatever, a trapdoor
Yeah.
and everything. So it kind of looked like maybe something like that was going on there. In this movie I just saw, Wicked 2. There's a scene in there. I don't want to give away the movie if you want to go see it. I thought it was a really good movie. I love the Oz movies.
Yeah.
And so there's a scene in there where the Wicked Witch disappears, kind of like in the first Oz movie.
Mm.
And so everybody's gone. And so somebody comes up and knocks on the floor, and then she comes out in a trap door. I'm like, yeah, they're showing us. They show this stuff all the time. So and you just got to be aware where it comes out, and different things like that. They'll show us before an event, and then after an event, they'll give us even more clues. So it's theater, like we talk about a lot of it, and we just need to be aware of it.
Do you have any ideas about what's going on with all the flooding in Washington State? I know it's pretty underreported right now, but the governor issued I guess it was some sort of announcement that it was a national or a statewide emergency or something. The infrastructure is kind of failing there as a result. But what do you think's happening in Washington?
Yeah, probably flooding a lot of dams because Washington on the sides that's being flooded out is pretty much the deep state side. You look at Western Washington, Oregon, and so forth. A lot of those areas are just good people, but in the coastal all the way up to the where the major cities are, there's definitely some problems there. I saw this way back when I was a hard hat diver back in the 1980. My hard hat dive ship went up the river to Portland, Oregon. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful city back then. But you could already see they had a lot of homeless that were on the Capitol grounds, sleeping on the Capitol. And the crap, I was like, what is this? I've never seen it like this my whole life. But now Oregon's a complete shithole. And, we're seeing, or Portland is a complete shithole.
Yeah.
And we've seen, National Guard there trying to handle the crazy stuff with getting the illegals out and all that kind of stuff. So I think there is, some flooding going on there on purpose. I predicted that there would be atmospheric rivers that would hit the West Coast during this time frame. I don't know if you can see it behind me, but there's snow that's coming down pretty good behind me. It's supposed to last for like a week straight.
Wow.
So there will be. This is going to continue to happen, and that's a good thing here where I'm at altitude, because it'll fill up the reservoirs. There won't be any excuses to have direct energy weapon fires anymore and not put them out. So, but a lot of those direct energy weapon fires, I said this several years ago when they had them in Colorado. And Colorado's been taken over, as we know now. Tina Peters in prison, and Trump has said, get her out of there. And they're like, no, screw you. So we'll see how that works out for them. But 3 years ago, I believe it was, around this time frame, they had fires in Colorado, which was very suspect. And maybe a little bit of direct energy weapon, but it was mainly the smart meters. So the fire department would go by homes. There was no fire outside, but inside there was like roaring infernos. And many of us started pointing out it was a smart meter. So same thing, they were using them, direct energy weapon, yes, but also the smart meters. I have this one woman, she may do a show with me. She was in that area. She had, multi-million dollar home. And she was telling everybody, because she's watched my shows, she was telling everybody to get your smart meters off your homes. No smart meters. So Cheech and Chong, or not Cheech and Chong, but Cheech lived right across the street from her and got rid of his smart meter. All the houses around them burned. So there is definitely, some stills. There's going to continue to be some craziness is going to continue for a little bit longer. But I think a lot of this stuff is the white hats and so forth. They're taking it down. So that's my thoughts on the flooding, taking down some people. There's not a lot of people that are dying. onesie, twosie. You know, that's going to happen in any storm, regardless. But most of it, I think, is you know, taking down areas that are very, very bad and suspect.
I kind of wondered if it was in some way meant to mitigate what might happen with Mount Rainier and the other volcanoes in the area.
Could be.
Those
Could
can
be.
be manipulated to erupt as well. And we just saw
Mhm.
Kilauea go off in a spectacular fashion.
Oh yeah.
We've had, you know, the volcano in Italy. I mean, there's been a lot of that kind of activity, and it's kind of downplayed in the news, as well as earthquakes. But I think the most interesting thing about the earthquakes is they're all at the same depth. You know, go figure. They're
Yeah, a lot
shallow.
of them at 10 kilometers. Yeah, where the domes are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We've talked to Gene Decode quite a bit about those. He maps them and whatnot, and yeah,
definitely
I
an
think
expert in that area. Good job.
yeah. So I think we're kind of at that point. You know, the news cycle started to stagnate, and pretty much it was just like, is this a good guy or a bad guy? I thought this was a good guy. Maybe this is a bad guy. There was a lot of that going back and forth, but it was just this circular thing for the longest time. And you know, we had such a trajectory on everything for the last decade, and I was like, what are they waiting for? You know, and I was thinking, well, they're waiting for an event. 107 talks about, you know, God showing up, so to speak, you know, at the end of this thing, that it's biblical. This is huge. And here we have 3iAtlas, which is defying everything we know about anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's here today. So I think this is what we've been waiting for, and I think things are going to accelerate very quickly for the better as a result.
I agree. For the better. And
Yeah.
you know, I saw again that there were going to be a lot of cities taken down. It hasn't happened yet, and that means perhaps that they've mitigated a lot of those you know, possibilities. And I think that's one of the things that ICE has been doing. ICE, I think, is full of a lot of special forces types that were brought in to, you know, take down a lot of the really, really bad characters that are out there that were going to cause a lot of problems. So I think a lot of that, they've been focusing on them. They've only gotten rid of 500,000. I hear that in the news. That would be 500,000 of the worst of the worst. And so now it's easier to start taking down a lot of the other ones. So they're starting to allocate special aircraft. They've converted a lot of um, flights, or not flights, but planes that normally would, you know, be running, people back across. Now they're going to be taking over and just purposefully taking illegals out of the country.
What do you think is going on with Mexico and the Jewish lady that runs it? I mean, I'm thinking it's crawling with Delta and DevGru, and you know, all tier one operators just go in. And they have all the intel, right?
Yeah, yeah,
What do you think is happening there?
yeah. I think that a lot of that's already happening. I think they've combined with Mexican good guy Mexicans in the military and so forth. They've actually been taking down a lot of those cartels. There could be still surgical strikes that we may hear about. I think some of them have been happening. I've been in a lot of combat areas where these things happen, and very few people know. I was in Iraq when we were getting all those people. Delta and SEAL Team 6 were, you know, every night they were banging doors and taking bad guys away. And there was like that deck of 52, like within a few months they had all those guys. But no, very few people knew about that. I did, because I knew those guys. Same thing was happening in Afghanistan. Massive takedowns, because, you know, in Trump's last year or so, there were no attacks in Afghanistan. And I can tell you the reason why is because SEAL Team 6 and Delta and some other teams and so forth were annihilating the bad guys on a level that I guess is not going to be revealed, because I heard the numbers and I was like, wow. It's like, and they haven't been released yet. So these things can and are happening, I think, all over the world, have been happening for quite some time.
Have you seen a series called Lioness? It's Taylor Sheridan. show.
No, I haven't seen that
You
one.
got to see that one. It's about
Okay.
a CIA kill team, you know, like tier
Oh,
one, and
yeah, I saw that, and yeah, I'll check
yeah,
that out. Yeah, that looks really good.
it's.
But
I
that's
mean,
very, very similar. Yeah, I saw the previews of that, and I'm like, I gotta check that out. So yeah, I'll definitely put that on the top of my watch list now. Good.
there are a lot of reveals in that, but one of them was, you know, China meddling, you know, with the United States through the
Mhm.
cartels and through Mexico, and how they handled it. It's well worth the watch. I'd love to hear your opinion on it after you see it. It's exciting as hell. It's really good.
Very good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
China
know how.
medals everywhere. They medaled in Afghanistan. They medaled in Pakistan when I was there. Um, yeah, they have a footprint everywhere.
But I think it's probably just their deep state, right? I still feel like Xi
Yeah,
Jinping
yeah,
is working
exactly.
with Trump, just like Putin's working with Trump. You know, there was a show called Blacklist. I don't know if you remember that one,
Oh yeah, that
uh,
was a good one too. Yeah.
with James Spader, and the whole premise is that there's a cabal that runs the criminal cabal that runs the world, and you know the government is just their puppets at every level.
Right.
And what I didn't know until recently, Matt Geiger told me, is James Spader, the star of the show, was dear friends and roommates with JFK Jr.
Really? I
Isn't
didn't
that
hear that, but
interesting?
that would make sense. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So who knows how far back this goes? I mean, you know, a lot of people maintain that this whole Q thing started with Lincoln. Certainly,
I think it did. I think
yeah.
it did. Yep.
Certainly, the Kennedys have played the biggest role, I think, in what we're seeing. But
I agree.
for all the stuff we kind of know, I wonder what we don't know. That's what will be revealed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Like I said, as far as the numbers that were taken out in Afghanistan, that's just one little reveal. But there's a lot of stuff that I know that may never be revealed because it's just it's just extra information that people can go off on a tangent on. So
Yeah,
the results are what we really want, and the results
yeah.
are what we're already seeing. Now, people want to see, people, dancing from the gallows or whatever, but I think a lot of the stuff has already been taken care of, and
Hmm.
some people want to see that. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna. So, and because that would be inflammatory. So I think it's just much better if like the work that I used to do, if kind of like James Bondish type stuff, where that stuff is just eliminated and no one really knows, and the world goes on. It's like perfect. So and it's
Well, some
becoming perfect. It wasn't before, but now it's becoming that way.
some of that information is just so caustic. You know, it makes me think of the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
Trump was always such a huge advocate of revealing the truth on that, and he had a conversation with oh gosh, what was the fellow's name? Judge Neapolitano, who was a friend of his, good friend.
Mhm.
And Napolitano was like, you have to release it. And Trump said, if you knew what was in that file, you would understand why I can't.
Right.
And I wonder what is in that file. And I think it goes right to the UFO file, honestly. I really think there's a tie in there.
Yeah.
But
Very, very possibly. Very,
yeah.
very possibly. And I think they thought they killed him, but they didn't.
Hmm.
And so there's that, and so that's on another whole another level. There's so many things that I think that people would be freaked out about, and it's like we're talking about. It's probably not even worth it to reveal everything. Just people will have all the money they need to do whatever they need to do, and they'll have health, and they'll live long spans, and they'll see technologies and information that's been suppressed or manipulated, that the truth comes out of that'll occupy and delight enough people. They don't need to see all the bad stuff that's going on in the background.
I agree. There comes a point where that can be just too destructive.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look at how fragile we are in the sense that, imagine the world population having to come to terms with well, just the stuff we already know, much less the stuff we don't. You know, it's astounding. But I know we're just over an hour. I don't know how long we have you for, but uh, you know, just to tie a bow around it, getting back to 3iAtlas, is there anything else that you observed or gleaned from that experience that you want to share that you haven't already?
Yeah, I think that there may be some people that actually get to visit it if they haven't already, actually be on it. And yeah, groovy military is the only way. So that's already been happening on a massive scale, like I alluded to. So it'll become. Will it be revealed? Like I said, some of it, but not all of it. It doesn't need to, because everybody's going to be more enthralled with, like I said, the good aspects that are coming through, and that's because we've taken down this very, very bad group. And 3iAtlas, I think, is very will probably be revealed as being part of that, just by their presence. They have probes that have been going into all the different planets, because all the planets, to a great extent, have been controlled or inhabited by the deep state. And Saturn, obviously one of the bigger ones, and all the rings around Saturn, had little outposts on them. I remote viewed those and have, on another level in Secret Space Program, have visited those and seen those and so forth. So there's a monumental takedown of a system, very dark system, that's not only been controlling the Earth, but our entire solar system.
Yeah, have you ever heard the audio signal coming from Saturn? It's horrible.
Oh,
It'll
really?
make you nauseous. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it emanates a certain signal. A lot of people say that's where the distortion is broadcast from.
Hmm.
Um, creepy stuff. So, and of course, if you look at the top of Saturn, as you know, that's a cube, and that cube is often expressed as a five-pointed star, and we're seeing an awful lot of that going on right now. And I think people are going to get read in on this stuff. As impressive and interesting and phenomenal as 3iAtlas is, I think we can agree there've been an awful lot of ships, a lot of galactics and whatnot from all over the place watching the show out there. And
that's good, because I agree.
Yeah.
They're cloaked in different frequencies, or outside of our what we can see and so forth, or pick up from our telescopes or whatever. And they're there watching the show, just like we're seeing a crazy show often, from these false flag events. And imagine what the world would have been like if President Trump if they had gotten through and assassinated President Trump like they'd planned. It would be a whole different ballgame right now. So.
Well, I'm beginning to wonder if the truth, we're wondering, how are they going to deliver the truth? How are they going to reveal all this stuff? And I'm wondering if that reveal might not be happening from within. I wonder if that's a stage of this evolution where all of a sudden people see with a certain kind of clarity they haven't seen before, because it's that 100-month monkey effect kind of a thing.
And that could be what we're going to see next year as well. I think there's going to be just an awakening. People are just going to awaken. That I have so many people that came, contacted me over the last several years when the COVID lockdown happened. I was really revealing on a massive scale. There's so many people said that during that time frame, watching me and watching a lot of people, that was their awakening. So will we see another one of those events in 2026? I believe so.
Yeah, well,
not a negative event, but an event that is a positive.
Agreed.
That's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, we met years ago in Shasta at the event with Alex Collier, and you remember the information he had to share. That's becoming a much more acceptable conversation to have now than it was then, I think.
Yeah.
And that marks some serious progress, I think, for humanity.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that have been taken down since then. The guy that ran that event, he's gone. James Rink just recently was taken out. So, there's still a fight that's out there. There's still a war. There's still remnants of this deep state that still have a little bit of power, but for the most part, I think going into next year and the year after, they're pretty much going to be eliminated.
Agreed. Well, like Mark Atwood says, I'm an buckle optimist. You know, it might get a little bumpy, but it won't be boring. You know, I
No,
think, but I think we're coming up on, well, at least the crescendo, if not, you know, the big reveal. I think it's, didn't Trump say something about everyone would know the truth in 2026?
probably because that's what I feel very confident. The crescendo, like you say, is going to happen in 2026, probably in the beginning, the first quarter, definitely I think the first quarter. I can't see it going beyond the first quarter, but maybe. I doubt it, though.
Well, where do you think the silver is going? Because this has been an exciting ride over the last few days, and I think it ties in with all this.
Yeah, the fact today it closed out at 27 and I don't know, 40, 30, something like that. They couldn't suppress it down because I agree with you. Silver is like the one thing that's basically really going to take down the deep state, their economic control system. So, I mean, this goes all the way back to 150, 180 years. They've been massively controlling silver. So that all of those years of control, you look at all the other precious metals. Platinum just went over 2,000 a day. I think it's 2,040 something, 45 maybe. Palladium is almost at 2,000. Of course, gold is right at the 4,400 level, its peak. So it's probably next week we'll see it go over and start to really take off again. Silver is definitely going to the moon. And that's good because it's like silver moon, right? We've heard that term quite a bit, and I think it's there. It's pretty much just has to be revealed. But the fact that it went to 27 and some change today is absolutely going to mean that next week, probably on Monday, because they usually come in and knock the heck out of it on Friday. The fact that it didn't get knocked down, it reached a new high today, means Monday, probably we're going to see all of the machines kick in and hammer that thing. And it's probably going to hit 70 real quick next week and maybe even higher. So, into the next year, I see 150 in the first quarter, 250 to 500 at the 6 month, and then probably at least 500 by the end of the year. And like I said, all the other precious metals are 1,000 above. So I think silver is going there probably in 2027.
Well, we know about the fakery with paper silver. Like if you don't hold it, you don't own it. But it's staggering, the numbers. It used to be it was oversold by 600%.
Right.
Now we're hearing that the real numbers dwarf that. So what are the consequences when that reveal happens?
Yeah, a lot of the banks basically got out of their short positions, their paper silver. That was part of the suppression for 100 years plus, whatever. And the American banks, for the most part, probably still some that are lingering, but JP Morgan basically got out of their short positions and went to real silver, physical silver. And I think a lot of the other American banks are. European banks are still playing this game. Europe as a whole, I think, is going to get really, really hammered next year. And they're playing, I think, with Russia's money. And Russia is very possibly over the next year, 2 years, might actually go into Europe now that they're playing this game, because they warned them, don't screw with our money, or we're going to see you as basically we're going to take you out, right? So we may see Russia go into Europe. They may make a peace agreement with Ukraine, which they'll eventually control completely. Because if they go, which I think they will, over to the port, Ukrainian port, Odessa, and they take that, which is they're already starting to hit it, like they're prepping it, getting ready to basically be taken over. There's no other. It's got to all come from Europe, and Europe is going to be hard pressed to support Ukraine. That's why they want that port. And if that port gets taken, it's definitely gone for them. And yep. So that
But
sounds good. So
major conflicts, with you've got Zelensky. He knows that if there's peace, well, he's not long for this world. He's going to disappear real quick. And Netanyahu, if there's a ceasefire, he's going to face an awful lot of charges. So he's not interested in peace.
no.
And these are kind of represent the biggest conflicts we have going, at least the ones we know about. So I don't know if that's a mechanism to prolong this stuff until all the chess pieces are in the right place on the board, but
Yeah.
Well,
it's they took JFK out because he was behind the scenes. He was communicating with Russia. So it's always been Russia, Russia, Russia. If you deal with Russia, then the deep state has carte blanche to kill you, and that's what they tried to do with Trump. So there's Russia, 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 and it was all bullshit. And so we're going to see the deep state basically being taken down. This Russia's part of that. Russia's part of taking down the deep state.
I mean, I think all the countries have their own deep state, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this cabal really does run everything, but I think they're on their knees. If
we've
not
seen them
completely
gone away
defeated.
in Argentina, no more deep state. Well, they're still there, lingering. That's where the Nazis went, and they have Bavarian villages all into Argentina. So they controlled through the Perones. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Eva Peron, yeah, right. But you have the Nazis backing you, and you supported the Nazis to come there and take over, just like Project Paperclip, like we had in the United States.
Right.
So all of this is being revealed. Chile, for 35 years, were basically, controlled by the deep state. That's gone. And what Bulgaria, I think, just basically, threw off the deep state. So it's happening all over the world. It's picking up momentum. So next year will be phenomenal going forward.
And Venezuela, what's happening there?
Yeah, it's basically a slow squeeze. Trump is going to go in. So they stole a lot of oil money, just like Iraq did. So we went in and basically got it back. We'll see that happen there in. So a good example, if they're going to steal the money of Russia, Russia's going to go get that money back from Europe. You think you're going to take that money, that 90 billion, euro, and give it to Ukraine? So that's Russia's money, and that's what they just decided. They're not saying that's what they did. They said, well, we found a way to pay for the war for the next 2 years, $90 billion. Well, where'd you get that money? You said you were going to take that from Russian, frozen assets, but it sounds like they did. So that's not going to be good for them. The same thing, is happening throughout Venezuela. You want to deep state come in and seize, just like we talk about, seize the, intellectual property of artists, in America, and they've done the same thing. They tried to seize. Well, they did seize my assets, and they've done that for a lot of other people. But I got back at them. I reveal on the deep state on a massive level. They tried to kill me many times, but that.
Oh, well, notice the topic we were discussing when you froze. Wow.
Well, they really didn't like that one. Huh?
No. That's funny. I was just wondering in my mind, how much of this is driven by or orchestrated by, an intelligence monoliths. It's
oh yeah.
We got the Five Eyes. They got around all those sticky jurisdictional problems that were keeping them down, and Ghislaine Maxwell's sisters authored the software that they all seem to use. Don't think there's not a backdoor in that software, right? So
that's why she got preferential treatment, and she's got the I don't know, the golf course treatment now for a jail. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, on our conversation, we were talking a little bit about the Epstein boomerang, and I've said it many times. I think the most interesting part of this Epstein story is going to be Jeffrey Epstein's testimony.
I agree. Very good. Very good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because I said right from the beginning, he's not dead.
No.
And they faked his death, and they got him out of there. And that's that'll be another reveal. That will be maybe a real, or maybe just his information comes out and he'll just be in witness protection in Valhalla for the rest of his life. I don't know. So.
Makes you wonder. I mean, he did know where the bodies were buried. That's for sure.
No doubt.
But who was the master he was serving? You know, I mean, the obvious answer would be Mossad, but I don't think it's that simple.
No, it's definitely not that simple. They're all the intelligence agencies. They're not even the top. No. They're just puppets of more master manipulators, and that's the the offspring of the Draco that basically have been running the show for a long time, and they're being taken down. They're losing their power, and they don't have as much power anymore. So all we had to do is just take away one of the major controllers, and now the whole system, because those guys aren't very clever. They don't have the intellectual and connection to God source, the creative potential that we do. So they've been controlling us for all this time and having us looshing on us and using our consciousness to form this facade of a world that we're living in to a great extent, and eventually becomes more real because we're creating it. And that's what we have to look forward to. And that's phenomenal on any level. And it's already starting to happen, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have the end of the Windsor family to a certain degree, and they were not British, they were German. We had the Rothschilds, surprisingly not Jewish, but I mean, not ethnically Jewish anyway.
Right.
It looks like the squeeze is being put on them via, Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve. So I think we're watching these wins. For anybody that's wondering when is it going to happen, you're watching it happen, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
On a monumental scale.
Oh yeah.
Those of us, aren't, manipulated by the, bread and circus, acts, the shootings and so forth. It's like, another fake, another, deep state, trying to still do their thing. Just how long it took them and how confused everybody seemed to be that was manipulating the information in the Brown University shooting should be a big reveal to everybody that they don't even know what they're doing now. They're so confused.
Well, in the Brown University, when I understand, they published a breakdown of all the funds that the United States gave Israel directly prior to the shooting.
Oh, wow.
And there were a lot of IDF tie-ins with the shooters. I don't know what's conclusive and what's not, so I don't want to speak in absolutes, but
right.
And then the Mossad shows up at the end. It just, I wonder. There's a point where, sloppiness looks just awfully intentional, and we mentioned that earlier, but I think it's worth repeating because
totally
we are watching a movie, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simulation. We're in a simulation right now, but for the most part, we're like I said, we're starting to take control of that, and that's what this is all about. They're not doing the simulation anymore. It's going to be us, and we're going to create this reality, and that's going to be magnificent and beautiful going forward.
I'll tell you, I could talk to you all day long, but we probably should land the plane at some point. I really immensely enjoyed this conversation, and like I said, I felt a huge download come in, and I feel like I'm processing it. A lot of times, you just have to sit with this stuff for a while, and I have a feeling, you're doing the same. So maybe we can do a follow-up show.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And bring some of these topics up, especially what we gleaned from 3iAtlas.
Yeah, this has been super stimulating and great conversation. So yeah, I'd love to continue in the future. It's great.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And I guess I'll roll us out of here. Do you have any final thoughts before I do?
Nope. Like I said, I think this was great. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this. Two dudes hanging out that are tapped in and just pull that information through. This everyone has this capability. That's right. Everyone, I think, can tap what we just talked about, and there's going to be a lot of people, I think, probably already that have seen this as we're live, are like, pretty thrilled about what they're seeing. They relate to it. And that's it. Start to, feel these different things. Because like we talked about, we look at something like, it's bullshit. And you saw that 9/11. I saw 9/11 too. I was like, that's bullshit. There's no way. Yeah. Did somebody get in there and like put explosives in there? So no, that's impossible. Unless it was somebody that had control, and I'd already been seeing some of the deep state stuff already. So you should be able to, at this point, from all of our shows talking about this, everyone at this point should go, yeah, that's bullshit. And then, oh, that's real. That's real. That's good. This is what we want to do. This is where we want to focus. And then it starts to materialize. And it's very easy when you start to look at it like that.
That's right. That's right. I almost forgot to ask you. You got that love bowl handy?
I do, but what's unfortunate is it doesn't play on these speaker system because it's a sound control. So I've tried so many times where I've gotten different microphones and different computers, and like, what happened? It's like they came in with new technology that won't let us do that anymore. So.
What a bummer. I always enjoyed that aspect of your show.
I love bringing that. So remember how we used to see the orbs in our pictures and everything? We can't. They up the 5G or whatever in our pictures, and so we don't see those as much anymore, unless you have some of those old cameras. My wife Tracy has some of that, and she still sees them. So.
I've got to send you pictures of the cosmic jellyfish that visited my campsite up in Mount Rainier.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Blow your mind. Yeah. I'll shoot them over to you.
Nice. Very good.
All right. Well, Joe, if you want to run that message from our sponsor, and then we'll roll on out of here.
Yeah. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks.
Merry Christmas.
For us, it all begins with the sun, the source of light and life for our entire solar system. Even Einstein concluded that everything we're made of contains light. All life originates with the sun through photosynthesis. Plants and vegetation collect the light, and all living creatures emit light. Humans actually emit infrared light, which can be seen with night vision devices. We've known for centuries that light has many effects on the body. LifeWave's phototherapy patches use light to stimulate the body's natural healing systems, providing specific health benefits. Here's how the technology works. First, a patch is applied to specific points on the body. Where the patch covers the skin, infrared light emitted from the body is reflected back into the tissue. This stimulates the skin, which in turn stimulates specific regions of the brain. The brain then taps into the body's own natural flow of energy and the ability to heal itself. Let's take a look at why this is important on a cellular level. For example, a number of our patch products help counteract free radicals, oxygen molecules that damage cell proteins and contribute to visible signs of aging. When the body is stimulated through phototherapy to release its own antioxidants, these free radicals are neutralized naturally. LifeWave phototherapy patches promote an environment that enables the body to optimize its restorative powers and provide specific health benefits, all without the use of harmful drugs or chemicals, all helping you to stay healthy and young. To find out more, contact your distributor or visit lifewave.com. LifeWave. Live long. Live well.
Hey, Joe, you still here?